Das würde ich glaube ich sagen, dass wenn ich mal was nicht verstanden habe, was ich machen soll, dass es vielleicht mal länger dauern könnte, dieses Rätsel zu lösen. Und wie es mir jetzt vorkommt, tut er einfach die ganze Zeit nur erzählen, wie er
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes, Donnelly's book stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
Ich auch einer, der gestrandet ist und ja, anscheinend sind schon vor mir welche gestrandet und sind herumgewandelt und haben diese erkundet und diese Sachen gesehen. Und ach, ich habe keinen Plan, was das Spiel jetzt gerade überhaupt von mir will. Steuerung jetzt doch lieber. Ich will sicher auch nicht nochmal alles zurücklaufen. Gerade ein Licht oder nicht? Ja, genau.
What to make of Donnelly, the laudanum and the syphilis? It is clearly not how he began, but I've been unable to discover if the former was a result of his visiting the island or the force that drove him here. For the syphilis, a drunk driver smashing his insides into a pulp as he stumbled these paths, I can only offer my empathy. We're all victims of our age. My disease is the internal combustion engine and the cheap fermentation of yeast. They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. He struggled halfway down the cliff path, perhaps looking for some lost goat, or perhaps in a delirium, and expired, curled into a claw right under the winter moon. Even the animals shunned his corpse. The mainlanders thought to bring it home unlucky. Donnelly claims they dragged it to the caves to thaw out and rot, but he is proving an unreliable witness.
Anscheinend ist das wirklich irgendeine Insel, wo schon viele etliche angekommen sind und einfach nur gestorben sind.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Hier hat noch ein da runtergefallen und hat sich verletzt, oder was? Ich bin doch da hoch. Ah, Mist, dann fallen muss halt auch in das Loch hier rein.
Did Jakobsen crawl this far? Can I identify the scratches his nails ruined into the rocks? Am I following him cell for cell, inch for inch? Why did he turn back on himself and not carry through to the ascent?
Das sieht mir sehr herrlich aus. Hier ist schon so Kerzen, von dem der vor uns erzählt hat. Ich weiß nicht, wo er die Kerzen hingetan hat, aber er hofft, dass sie niemandem, der ihm später folgen wird, helfen wird. Ich muss sagen, echt, das sieht gerade sehr beeindruckend aus. Also ich bin gerade hin und weg. Gefällt mir. Gefällt mir sehr.
They'd stop the traffic back as far as the Sandford Junction and come up the hard shoulder like radio signals from another star. It took 21 minutes for them to arrive. I watched Paul time to the second on his watch.
Ich weiß die ganze Zeichnung zu bedeuten. Angst vor engen Räumen hatte. Wie heißt es? Klaustrophobie oder wie auch immer. Der hat hier die Arschkarte. Da will ich ja vollkommen durchdrehen.
I'm traversing my own death throes. The infection in my leg is an oil rig that dredges black muck up from deep inside my bones. I swallow fistfuls of diazepam and paracetamol to stay conscious. The pain flows through me like an underground sea.
Eine Sprint-Taste gibt es, Mausen kann. Nein. Das ist ein Beschleunigungsfaktor, ich habe keine Ahnung. Dass wir den kann hochsetzen. When I was coming round from the operation, I remember the light they shone in my eyes to check for pupil contraction. It was like staring up at a moonlit sky from the bottom of a well. People moved at the summit, but I could not tell if you were one of them. Spiel auch gar nichts vergleichen, was annähernd so wäre. Jetzt auf einmal Nacht. Hier steht ein Zelt. Noch mehr Kerzen. Ich würde einmal behaupten, ich bin auf dem richtigen Weg.
I wish I could have known Donnelly in this place. We would have had so much to debate. Did he paint these stones or did I? Who left the pots in the hut by the jetty? Who formed the museum under the sea? Who fell silently to his death into the frozen waters? Who erected this godforsaken aerial in the first place? Did this whole island rise to the surface of my stomach, forcing the gulls to take flight?
I returned home with a pocket full of stolen ash. Half of it fell out of my coat and vanished into the car's upholstery, but the rest I carefully stowed away in a box I kept in a drawer by the side of my bed. It was never intended as a meaningful act, but over the years it became a kind of talisman. I'd sit still, quite still for hours, just holding the diminishing powder in my palm and noting its smoothness. In time we will all be warm